Thank you so much for the warm introduction. I'll keep a brisk rhythm today. Big picture first, and then the method, then the headline findings, with minimal technical detours. The key question is how students' sense of belonging and their experience of engaging math teaching relate to their math confidence across many educational systems. As we mentioned in the title, of course the title changed, I'm sorry, it's keep evolving. It's about TEAMS data. So why the topic now? Because math confidence is not just another trendy name in education. It shapes participation, persistence, and how willing students are to tackle difficulty, meet challenges. And in international surveys, measurement and interpretation can quietly drift across cultures. So we need approaches that are transparent about analytic choices. So that's what we are doing. Here, math confidence, MCF, is treated as a belief about one's own competence in math, part of a broader set of mathematical beliefs. We already know MCF varies systematically by age and gender. So an explanation needs to be psychologically plausible and educationally actionable. And that is school belonging, SBL. It's about feeling accepted, respected, and included and supported, especially by teachers and other adults in school. It's associated with motivation and engagement. And it also correlates with achievement in large-scale studies. This slide shows the simplest direct story. Does belonging predict math confidence, even when we control for student background factors? This is the CPAS, right? Useful as a baseline before we add a mechanism, such as a mediator. Here we have the teaching engagement in math, TEM. It's the learner's view of how the teacher makes math learning active, clear, and meaningful. Conceptually, it's where school climate meets classroom practice. Belonging may open students up to math learning, but engaging math teaching does the day-to-day work. So here's the same baseline again. Just a reminder that a direct connection is not the whole explanation. The question is whether TEM helps explain how SBL connects to or relates to MCF. This is a hypothesized mediation model. SBL predicts TEM, pass A, and TEM predicts MCF, pass B, and also we still allow a direct pass from SBL to MCF, the C prime, let's call it. The indirect effect is this, the product of A and B, A times B, or we call it AB. That's the centerpiece in today's results. So now we switch from what to how. How we keep ourselves honest when there are many reasonable analytical choices. The short answer is transparency, plus a multiverse approach in our case. Transparency matters in both qualitative and quantitative work. We ask how interpretations and results could change under different plausible decisions. There are always lots of decisions we might think this is important, that's important. Shall we take this one and ignore that one, right? Instead of hiding those faults, we map them and report what is robust. First, I'll briefly show the measures as they appear in teams. In other words, what we are actually asking students in the intentional survey, right? This is mainly to make the constructs concrete for everyone. Not to turn today into a psychometrics lecture, let's start with school belonging, SBL. These are the SBL items in simplified forms. Notice that they are about social acceptance and support in school. In later modeling, we treat them as indicators of one underlying variable, which is SBL, sense of school belonging, right? This slide shows the measurement idea. One SBL factor explaining responses across all those items in former slides. The technical details matter in background, but the key point is that we are consistent across systems and grades. We all know that some of you might look into Teams reports each cycle. So they have grades 4, which is like year 3 here, year 5 here, right? And grade 8, year 9 in England. So these are used across these grades and systems. And then another instrument, the 10 items, also from Teams, capturing students' experience of engaging math teaching. Think, is the teacher making learning active, clear, and supportive, rather than a narrow checklist of techniques? Again, the purpose is to ground TEM in what students were asked about. Later, TEM acts as the mechanism linking school belonging to math confidence, as was shown in the former diagram, right? This is the measurement idea for TEM. A single underlying dimension summarizing those teaching engagement items. In the analysis, the same logic is applied across the systems, included in the study. Now, math confidence, MCF, the construct that often becomes tricky across cultures. If one is going to ask you whether you are confident about math, probably students from different cultures will respond differently, but they are using the same items, right? Because items can't invite different response styles. This is exactly why we test multiple defensible ways of estimating MCF. This is the hardest bit in terms of measurement for this study. Here are the MCF items, the whole set of items in simplified form. The key point today isn't each individual item, but the different defensible ways of grouping or modeling these items can lead to different effect sizes. The one that we are most interested in is the AB, right? The indirect effect. You'll notice the mix of positively and negatively worded statements. In some cultural contexts, including many Confucian heritage culture settings, such as China, where I came from, right? Direct self-affirmation, hey, I'm good at math, can be less comfortable or less common, which may shape some students' response. Doing well in math, right? Learning math quickly, or teachers overtly appraise me for being good at math. Teachers for example, in CHC, Confucian heritage culture, would likely to say, oh, you've been working so hard lately, so your performance improves, rather than you are just good at math. So that wording structure is one reason we estimate MCF in multiple ways, 5 in total. So the first way, Model A, is one defensible way to estimate MCF from these items. In today's talk, the main multiverse results are based on 3 MCF options. This is the A, then we have option B and C following this slide, generating 1,728 specifications. Model B is another defensible way of estimating MCF. Some of you may have noticed that we have fewer items. We've removed 3 of the positively worded items and now have 6 in the model, reflecting a different judgment about what belongs together. The multiverse approach treats this as a legitimate fork. By fork, we mean it's like a symbolized all these different directions of decisions we are going to choose from. So here's the Model C, the third option for measuring MCF, including one more item excluded, right? Included in the 1,728 spec analysis I'm presenting later today. The question is not which is perfect, A, B, or C, but whether the real story survives across all 3. We also have models D and E are two further extensions of MCF measurement that we are adding into the measurement, the manuscript version to be submitted in a few weeks. But I'm flagging them here, but today's results focus on A through C for clarity. And this is the same message as the previous slide. D and E extend the measurement story. So both D and E models include all items without dropping the items like the B and C. So we are really holding high hope to these 2 models. But the talk today stays with the, as I said, mentioned earlier, the 1,728 spec core. If the central conclusions hold under A through C, that's already a strong, robust check. Now, we bring the pieces together, put them together, SBL, TAM, MCF, in one modeling framework. The key outcome is how stable the mediation pattern is across many reasonable choices. Now, we are standing at the beginning of the study. We have these 4 major decisions to make. Who are we going to study? Whom are we going to study about? Since we are using the TIMSS data, so we decided to include all these educational systems that had both grades 4 and 8 students in the survey. So that gave us 35 educational systems. And we also hope to see them as a whole, a global sample. So we have 36 options to make, right? Then there are 3 hows questions. The first one, as it unfolds, it shows 5 major measurement models of MCF we just seen earlier. In today's talk, we report models A through C. Mentioned again. Okay, so the key takeaway is simple. Multiple measurement choices are defensible, and they can shift the effect sizes we observe, as we will be seeing later, different sizes of the A, B. Then the animation shows the 8 control policies we use, ranging from no controls. We do not consider student background, whether how old they are, their gender, their socioeconomic status. No, that's the first option, right? And then we have one control, two controls, or all three controls, age, gender, and SES. The point isn't that one set is right, it's that different reasonable choices exist, and we want to, conclude on the whole picture to see the robustness of all the estimations across all these possibles, right? So we treat controls as part of the multiverse, not an afterthought. And here, the final branch is the estimator choice, ML versus MLR. Just to be explicit for anyone who doesn't live in SEM land, ML is maximum likelihood, and MLR, maximum likelihood with the robust standard errors. These are just methods to estimate the models, the triangular models we've seen before. We include both to check whether the headline pattern depends on distributional assumptions. That's all. So here's the simplest map of the multiverse. System times controls times MCF options times estimators. All these numbers of choices, all the different combinations included we have. If we are going to estimate MCF using the models A through C, we got 1,728 specifications or these SEM models to estimate. If we increase the measurement of MCF to 5 ways, then we have over 2,000 specifications. Now, what do we learn when we line up all specifications and look at the whole distribution? I'll focus first on the indirect effect A times B, AB, then a model fit and sensitivity. We are back to the big picture. Does the mediation story hold across systems and analytic choices? And where do we see meaningful variation that deserve interpretation rather than being treated as noise? This is the specification curve analysis, SCA, ranked by indirect effect. So here we have this black curve shaded in green, highlighted in green. If you see it in the front, you could see it. So all these curves are different estimates resulted from the model. For example, we have the path A, B, they are all here, but we have to rank them, and we choose the one we are most interested in. Of course, we are also going to include the individual curves ranked by themselves in the supplement in the submission. But looking at it, first of all, we have the impression that the indirect effects from all the models are positive, right? That's encouraging. That means that teaching the TAM really mediate or build the bridge between school belonging and mass confidence. And most of them are, all of them are significant, in fact. But if we look at the bottom panel, these are the options we make. For example, these are the educational systems, and these blue bars are the 3 MCF models. And of course, judging by plain eye, we can't tell a very accurate conclusion, but we have the sense that these are the 9 items. If we use more items, the effect tends to be high, right? At the curve. So if you read the specifications, you for example, that point, you just see these options correspond to it vertically. So we can see that more items included in the model, the mediation effect tends to be large. Here's the SCA of fit indices. So we have these two cutoffs. This is the 0.05. That one is 0.9. So these are, if all the curves on the top are above that dashed line, would be ideal, and these below would be better. So this curve is the variance explained by the model. Basically, how much different the model explains the student's math confidence. So you could see it as percentage. There are three cutoff lines here, defined by Cohen 1988. So this line, below it, if the curve, the point is below this bottom line, that means we could totally neglect, ignore the CPAC, these models. Above this first line, that's a weak effect. And then here is the modest, and the top should be large, not large, substantial. And this next curve shows F squared of MCF, ranked by from the smallest to the largest. And all these stripes are still the decisions we make correspond to, each model. In between, the green bar charts are actually showing the sample sizes. So the three dashed line we also have here, Mark Cohen's 1988 conventional reference points for small, medium, and large effects, roughly 0.02, 0.15, 0.35. So you can see how often results fall below, around, above these thresholds. Again, the lower panels simply, as I mentioned earlier, show the specifications. This is the central story in one picture. SBL, TAM, and MCF with controls. Keep this structure in mind. The next slides translate the multiverse into an overall readable narrative, because the previous diagrams tell us see an ocean of information, right? Which one shall we believe in or look into? So it is very important when we are doing multiverse analysis to, in the end, be able to draw everything together to see the central tendency. Meta-analytically polling across systems. The A-path here, linking SBL to TAM, and B-path are both relatively strong. They are all significant. In plain terms, belonging matters, but a lot of its influence seems to travel through engaging math teaching. This forest plot summarizes the indirect effect AB for each system, alongside a put estimate. Sorry, just a little. A put estimate at the bottom. Here, this green diamond. I'm highlighting a few example systems from three broad cultural clusters. First, Anglophone, those highlighted in blue, and then those highlighted in red, Confucian heritage cultures, and then the rest of the world, which I will revisit in the next figure. The red and green dots marked the lowest and highest system estimate. The headline is that a larger share of SBL's association with MCF is channeled via TEM, teaching engagement in mathematics. In our summary, that's about 77%. So over 3/3. 3/4, sorry. Now we have the variance decomposition, reminding us not all systems behave the same. So the light gray shows the inter-system variance, percentage variance, and the dark gray shows the intra or within system variance. Even when the overall story is clear, we can see that AB, the mediation, right? It's like half-half between system and within system. Even when the overall story is clear, so we treat heterogeneity as part of the finding, a prompt to ask, where and why does it differ? So there are differences, right? Why? Is it because systems are just different, or is it because the decisions were made in terms of how to analyze or measure data model, right? Step back. What does this mean for classrooms and schools? If we want to cultivate math confidence, we should treat belonging and teaching engagement as connected curves, connected levers, not as separate initiatives. Now, the cultural question. Do patterns differ systematically across cultural groupings? I'll show this cautiously, not as stereotypes, but as a way to summarize large-scale variation. This figure looks at culture by item interaction. Essentially, whether particular confidence items behave differently across cultural contexts. So the blue boxes represent Anglophone models estimate, and the red Confucian heritage, and gray, for simplicity, we have to put them in the rest of the world, but we all know there are lots of difference even within the rest of the world, right? The takeaway is less about who is right and more about why measurement choices matter in comparative work. So if we remove items, fewer items we have in the model, the lower effect sizes. If we include all the items, we see higher mediation effects. It seems the teaching engagement role becomes stronger. So now we have, of course, the purpose is not for you to see clearly the detail. This is just the 6x6 grid figure, shows system-specific sensitivity curves for the indirect effect, AB, across the multiverse. So each grade is for one of the 36 systems, if we consider global sample as a system as well, mega system, right? So within each grade, these are the estimates of 48 specifications or models in that system. And we also color-coded these estimates. We can see three colors, right? If you sit in the front, you can see we have the red, 5 items, orange corresponds to 6-item measurement, and blue corresponds to 9-item estimate or models. On the shaded band showing uncertainty, it's actually 95% confidence interval. So we can see there are steeper or stepped curve, right? This curve indicates greater sensitivity to modeling choices. Apparently, has something to do with the number of items we use to estimate MCF, right? So that here's the reliability paradox. Where shorter scales, often with better model fit, tend to produce smaller mediation estimates. So if we zoom in, pick some examples, here is the Australia figure, right? As an example, the pattern is stepped. The 9-item estimates, the blue on the top, sit noticeably higher than the 6 and 5-item versions. This illustrates the reliability paradox in a very concrete way. Improving statistical fit by shortening the scale can also reduce the estimated mediation signal. We got weaker signal when we have fewer items, stronger vice versa, right? This is the pooled global curve. Even at the global level, you can see a clear separation between the shorter scales and the full 9-item scale. It's a useful summary, but it can also mask how uneven this sensitivity is across individual systems. Take Japan as an example. It provides contrasting example, right? The curve is less cliff-like, with 5, 6, 9-item estimates closer together across much of the range. Here, measurement pruning changes the estimate, but the mechanism remains relatively more stable. South shows a similar pattern. There is some movement across specifications, but the gap between scale lengths is more modest than in the most stepped cases. This is what we mean by robustness. The mediation estimate does not rely on a single defensible measurement decision. And here's the USA. Compared with the flatter cases, the separation between shorter cases and shorter scales and the 9-item scale is more pronounced, reminding us that sensitivity is not confined to any single region. The broader point from the complete figure is that scale cleanup can have an uneven cost. In some systems, it trims redundancy, and in others, it trims the signal or the size of the mediation. Coming back to the culture grouping, yes, there are differences, but one consistent pattern is that pruning MCF can reduce the mediating power, so measurement decisions can change not only fit, but also ultimate conclusions. So what's next? We expand the multiverse rather than narrowing it. As mentioned earlier, we have 2 additional plans to estimate MCF. The immediate extension is to add those 2 measurement approaches. In the manuscript version going out in the next few days, weeks, we'll add this in. So beyond the models D and E, the broader agenda is to keep linking methodological transparency to educational meaning. Ultimately, the goal is not best fit, but valid, interpretable evidence about how schools and teaching support students' confidence in math. Thank you. I'll stop here.